Chief Secretary, members of the Fourth Estate, thank you so much for coming as we outline and articulate issues related to Vision 2030. Cabinet considered and approved the public-private partnership between the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructural Development and the Chirundu Border Consortium for the upgrade and modernization of the Chirundu one-stop border post as proposed by the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mtuli. The project will be implemented under the build, operate, own and transfer model over a period of 20 years, and according to the agreement, the Chirundu Border Consortium is a Zimbabwean registered company which will be responsible for the following: the renovating of the border post which is in existence, including the buildings and the infrastructure, the construction of new buildings, way bridges, roads and parking lots, enhancing the improvement and integrating the information management system, the ICT systems, into the border post operations, improving traffic processing systems and constructing staff housing. In line with the government policy of promoting a private sector-led economy, the Chirundu Border Consortium will fully provide the required funds to cover the estimated project cost to the tune of United States dollars 66.8 million. The improvement of the Chirundu border post will bring immense economic benefits to the country, including the following: it will complement the improved efficiency at the Byte Bridge border post and the upgraded Byte Bridge Harare Chirundu Highway. This will enhance the movement of transit traffic, thereby making this route the most preferred along the north-south corridor. The improved connectedness of Zimbabwe to the region will position the country to benefit from the African continental free trade area, resulting from Zimbabwe moving goods much faster in the region than before. The initiative will create employment opportunities for surrounding communities. Cabinet considered and noted the update on the preparations for the 2024 Heroes Day commemorations and the Zimbabwe Defense Forces Day celebrations as presented by the Honorable Minister of Defense, Honorable OCZ Michinguri Kashiri, on behalf of the Honorable Vice President Comrade KCD Mohadi, who is also the chairman of the Combined Cabinet Committee on State Occasions and Committee on Honors and Awards. The National Heroes Day will be commemorated on the 12th of August 2024 at the National Heroes Eka in Harare, with provinces simultaneously holding commemorations in their respective jurisdictions. The preparedness for the events are at an advanced stage. To date, the number of national heroes and heroines countrywide stands at 213, with 198 interred at the National Shrine. The Defense Forces Day will be celebrated on the 13th of August 2024 at Rufaro Stadium in Harare under the theme Guaranteeing a Conducive Environment for the Attainment of Vision 2030. Prior to this, the Zimbabwe Defense Forces will carry out community assistance projects from the 5th to the 9th of August 2024, and the completed projects will be handed over to the communities. The Zimbabwe Defense Forces will also carry out a week-long medical outreach during which they will offer free consultations and treatment for minor ailments. Preparations for this event are also at an advanced stage. The 14th of May every year was set aside for the National Honors and Awards conferment ceremony, and in view of the exigencies that prevented the holding of the same on the designated day, the Honors and Awards conferment ceremony will be held as a joint event with the Heroes Commemoration as in previous years. However, starting next year, a separate conferment ceremony will be held on the stipulated date with the nomination process already underway. The conferment of medals on those that exuded valor and humanitarianism by selflessly dedicating themselves and performing outstandingly in various fields is meant to immortalize and memorize these individuals for honorably serving the nation in certain distinct ways. Of particular note is that at this year's Heroes and Defense Forces Days, there shall be conferment of 6 awards, namely the Royal Order of Munumtapa, the Order of the Star of Zimbabwe, the Gold Cross of Zimbabwe, the Silver Cross of Zimbabwe, the Commendation Medal, the Independence Medals to veterans of the liberation struggle, including war collaborators. 2,000 will be honored across the 10 provinces. Cabinet received the 2024 mid-year budget and economic review as presented by the Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mtuli. The full details of the review will be presented to Parliament on the 25th of July 2024 as per standing statutory requirements. The 2025 budget strategy paper was also presented to Cabinet for noting. Cabinet considered and noted the update on the acceleration for irrigation development for national food security and rural modernization and industrialization as presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Honorable Dr. A.J. Masuka. The Accelerated Irrigation Rehabilitation and Development Plan was approved in 2021 with the major objective being to develop 350,000 hectares for summer irrigation by 2025 and targeting to produce 1.8 million metric tons of summer cereals annually at 5 metric tons per hectare. This will be enough to feed the population at a planning consumption rate of 120 kilograms per person per year, although the actual consumption is 92 kilograms per person per year. During the 39-year period extending from 1980 to 2019, the area under irrigation increased by 13% from 150,000 hectares to 169,000 hectares. The plan which is being developed is in order to capacitate the expansion rate since independence, courtesy of the Accelerated Irrigation Rehabilitation and Development Plan launched by His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa. As a result of the launch of the Accelerated Irrigation Rehabilitation and Development Plan, the average irrigable area developed increased from an average of 487 hectares per year during the period 1980 to 2019 to an average of 9,600 hectares per year during the 5-year period from 2019 to 2024. Pertinent to note is that Zimbabwe is over 10.6 billion cubic meters of water in 10,600 dams, capable of irrigating 2.2 million hectares to support the required irrigation expansion drive to a projected 496,000 hectares by the year 2030. In the context of managing climate change, 4 models are key and instrumental to bring the envisioned irrigation development agenda, which will ensure that food production is independent of the status of the rainy season, but a function of the harvested rainfall. These include the following: the model for irrigation development, where infrastructure exists, targeting to develop about 20,686 hectares. The model for irrigation development around dams, targeting the existing 10,600 dams. The model for corporate irrigation development, given that 278,645 people are on the waiting list and 10,000 diasporans have indicated willingness to access the land, and model for smallholder irrigation development. Meanwhile, an irrigation investment conference was held on the 5th of July 2024 at the Harare International Conference Center to accelerate the participation of the private sector in irrigation development as a key strategy to climate-proofing agriculture. At the conference, several companies indicated their willingness to participate in the irrigation expansion drive, and fruitful engagements are ongoing. Deals worth United States dollars 226 million were signed. Cabinet considered and approved the priority projects for the second 100-day cycle of 2024 and the mid-term reporting schedule as presented by the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Honorable Olavmo Matuke. The second 100-day cycle of 2024 commenced on the 21st of May 2024 and will end on the 29th of August 2024. A total of 189 projects were submitted by 24 ministries, departments, and agencies. The highest number of projects fall under the Infrastructure and Utilities thematic area in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, which plays a crucial role in the country's overall socio-economic development. The Infrastructure and Utilities thematic area has 46 projects, followed by the Digital Economy thematic area with 16 projects. The Youth, Sport and Culture and the Human Capital Development thematic areas have 15 projects each. Other thematic areas have projects ranging from 3 to 14. The tracking and validation of implementation progress will be conducted by the Office of the Special Advisor to the President, focusing primarily on monitoring and implementation of government projects and programs in collaboration with the offices of the Ministers of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution and the Public Service Commission. After day 50, respective ministers are expected to report implementation progress. At the close of the cycle, a consolidated second 100-day cycle for the year 2024 will be published and will also be generated across all media platforms. The Executive Electronic Dashboard remains a pivotal tool for real-time reporting and decision-making at all levels. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Discuss much about green. But the question you referred to Dr. Masuka. The second issue is coming from Jamaida Muruira. What is government doing to capacitate communities around dams in terms of infrastructure development? Over to you, Dr. Masuka.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the first one, I don't know the context, but perhaps I haven't seen this member of valuable member of the fourth estate in the previous meetings. But perhaps just to contextualize that the food security outlook to 2025 March comprises of 4 elements. The first element of course, the strategic grain reserve, which is the bulk of that, but whatever stock anyone holds as individuals and as private sector. And the second component, whatever we've managed to glean from the drought-ravaged El Nino season. And at government level, we've said cumulatively the cereals harvests are down 77%. And then the third food security component is imports. Imports at household level, because we now allow imports of meal at household level for their monthly requirements. Imports by the private sector, so they must see business in our hunger, but not profit here from our hunger. Then imports by government to complement all these efforts. I can comment on the government imports. Government imports to date are 14,000 metric tons. We expect 300,000 metric tons during the planned period. Then the fourth component of the food security outlook, and more importantly, is the winter cereals production plan, where we envisaged at planning 120,000 hectares under wheat, 6,725 hectares under potatoes, 3,000 hectares under maize and traditional grains. As of yesterday, we've done 121,982 hectares of wheat. So well on our way to ensuring that we can harvest the record 600,000 metric tons and begin to contribute to the wheat-based food security strategy. And then maize, just over 2,100 of the 3,000 planned hectares have been planted. Potatoes, just over 3,000 of the 6,725 hectares have been planted. Barley, that's for Delta, just over 6,400 hectares planted of the envisaged 7,000. So that's the ballpark figure. In terms of the private sector imports, what we record through issuance of import permits, we've issued 651 import permits to companies. And between 1 April and yesterday, just under 400,000 metric tons had been imported. Although we have issued import permits for 3.2 million metric tons of maize. And the maize has largely come from South Africa, Zambia, Mozambique. So that's the update. But for Zamaida Murwira, and of course, yes, your interest in agriculture is acknowledged, because I find that I get these very pertinent questions to inform the nation. We've said that there are four categories of irrigation models for which the President led the nation at the 5th July Irrigation Conference, Investment Conference, where we're exhibiting leadership to galvanize the nation so that we emerge stronger from the worst El Nino in 43 years. So we said that the first irrigation model that we want acceleration in private sector financing is irrigation around existing infrastructure. We give quite a lot of people land, but there are people that are where irrigation infrastructure is already, but do not have the financial capacity to develop. And this area is 20,682 hectares. So we've now gazetted this area so that these people that are there are protected, so that the land is not repossessed on account of underutilization. So they retain their offer letters, but now we look for investors in form of agreed countenanced joint ventures by government. So that's the first thing that the President did on the 5th of July. The second one was, how do we invest? There are 278,000 people on the land waiting list. Each one of you wanting to get a piece of land, whereas Zimbabwe is a finite geographic space, it can't expand. But more people and more people want land. And there are 10,000 people in the diaspora that have indicated that they want land. So 290,000 Zimbabweans are waiting to be given land, whereas we've distributed 99.99% of the land. So there is no expectation that everyone on this waiting list will get land. However, you don't have to have land in order to do business on land. You don't have to have a house in Highfield in order to stay in Highfield. You don't have to have a building in town in Harare in order to do business in it. So equally, you don't need land in order to do business on land. So we want to form this corporate, and we've called it Vision Incubator and Accelerator Model, which will probably list on the stock exchange. So if you have $1, you can invest in it so that you can participate in farming without being on the land, and then you can draw your dividend. And it was one of the issues that we discussed on the 5th of July, and there was so much excitement that now we provided a vehicle for all Zimbabweans to participate and benefit from the land reform program while they are in Mkumbura, while they are in Gutu, and while they are in Lotito. So that's the one model. The third model is we have so fortunate as a country. We have 10.6 billion cubic meters of water in 10,600 dams, and capable of irrigating 2.2 million hectares, and yet only 237,000 hectares is developed for irrigation, 10%. How do we incentivize, motivate the private sector to see the business around dams? And first, it was the policy change that in the First Republic, we constructed a dam and we commemorated and commissioned the dam. But it wasn't an investment case. In the Second Republic, we said the dam is not the project, but what the water is intended to do, which with us change means the dam is an economy. So automatically the dam has 5 components. First is you impound the water, you do the dam wall. And secondly, you generate electricity. Thirdly, you generate irrigation water. And if you want to invest in land, you can do so in order to recoup your investment. And then thirdly, you can do drinking water. You have seen now what we're doing with Kunji, that we're already doing the pipeline with Baishangani, the pipeline with Mchikarana, Wenimbi, we're already doing the pipeline. So it becomes an investment case for the private sector to come and participate. It's no longer just the preserve of government, and which is why there is a gap between what we wanted to do, the 496,000 hectares, and where we are now. So if we can crowd in the private sector like we did on the 5th of July, then we can get more people to participate. So in future, it's not just government, what government is doing. It is what government is doing and what enabling environment it has done to create private sector participation, and you'll be hearing more about this excitement. And then the fourth one, of course, and very briefly, it is the smallholder irrigation scheme. I'm very passionate about this because I was born and bred, raised in Region 5. And I grew up, and I've told you before, that seeing my mother, my sisters, this time of the year, the stream dried up, the river dried up, and the men in the village had to go to the nearest river, to Mufuku, so that these villages can fetch water. There's no way we can attain Vision 2030 while women and girls still journey to the river to fetch water in a bucket. So the President's transformation and transformative intervention is the 35,000 villages, each with a bowl. So now we're portable and a constitutional right to safe water. But water becomes an economic enabler. So we're now forming these 35,000 companies in 35,000 villages, 9,600 companies, 9,600 schools, 4,800 youth businesses around the 1,620 rural wards, and much more. So to me, that's the irrigation for development that the President is talking about. Hence, the presentation today was not about irrigation. It was for modernization of rural areas. It was about industrialization of rural areas for the attainment of Vision 2030. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Newsiana. In fact, if we step back and say that when we launched this as the part of the accelerated rehabilitation of the horticulture development plan, which had 2 components, and we said this horticulture development plan is a conventional plan where we wanted to resuscitate conventional horticulture, deciduous trees, that's apples, peaches, blueberries, and so on and so forth, tea, sugarcane. And then we said we needed the unconventional horticulture plan. And that unconventional horticulture plan was anchored on supply of water to villages. Because we said we look at horticulture wrongly. Horticulture is not just what happens in plantations, but for a very long time, women and girls from about April or May, just after the rain season, go to the nearest stream, go to the nearest river, and put up gardens. So communities are involved in gardens. But we must climate-proof agriculture, because Zimbabwe is predicted to become drier in the decades ahead. But we will need relish, we will need nutrition. So we must begin to look at a program that takes away these gardens from rivers where they cause siltation, from rivers where they are dependent on seasonal rainfall, to where there is an assurance of water. Water cleaner, safer for drinking, but water now as an economic enabler. So we had planned that by 2025, 2026, if we had received all the resources, remember, we had said we wanted 100 drilling rigs to be able to expedite this program through Zinwa, to do the 35,000 villages. And we had said that RIDA, which was DDF then, would get an additional 20 drilling rigs to just focus on the 9,600 schools. The resources have not been as forthcoming because of competing national needs. Zinwa only has 28 drilling rigs, and the balance of the ordered 40 on their way, and we hope that we'll be able to accelerate this. So today we presented a plan to Cabinet. It was adopted, where we emphasize that resources are key to accelerating these village business units, school business units, youth business units, vocational training center business units. In the face of the worst drought in 43 years, we need to be jolted to think that we must de-link rainfall and production. So we need to accelerate this. So we put a plan for completion by 2027, and I hope that the requisite resources will be following through. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, and let me also thank my brother Owen for that very pertinent question, which I think it will then give a clearer picture to the people of Zimbabwe on what we intend to do. But first and foremost, let me hasten to thank His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, our visionary leader who is championing the private sector-led economy, where we've seen that instead of tapping into the fiscus, we are now having private players partaking in the infrastructure development. And this is one of such a project, which is something that we must brag about as a nation. And in terms of the timelines, we are looking at 24 months from the date of signature of the concession agreement. And this will synchronize with the rehabilitation of the Harare Chirundu, so as to buttress the north-south corridor as alluded to by my brother. And if you have witnessed, we've already started on the Harare Chirundu. Yes, others might be saying we are earmarking Sadak, but the Harare Julius Nyerere Way is part of Harare Chirundu roadworks. So we've started, and we are now at Westgate, where we are intending to dualize the section up to Nkomo Barracks, close to 40 kilometers from the main post office. The idea behind is that by the time we complete the upgradation and rehabilitation of Chirundu Border Post, we'll also be in a position to finish the road. And I'm happy when we did the groundbreaking for Harare Chirundu, we're talking for 18 months. So if you do your maths, you find that it will then synchronize together with the upgradation of the border post. But also along that corridor, we also have another major road, which is Karoi Binga Road, which has been very topical in terms of logistics. If you're coming from Chirundu, it would be ideal if you are navigating towards Bifos to then use the Karoi Binga. So we have also another private player coming soon to partake on that particular stretch, which will be around 300 kilometers right at Binga Tenor. So I'm happy that as a ministry, under the wise leadership of His Excellency Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, these are the initiatives that we are running with so as to buttress and support our fiscus so that we don't burden the taxpayer, but at the end of the day, we'll also think outside the box to see how we can improve our infrastructure. So I want to thank you so much for highlighting that. And indeed, we say we are synchronizing the two, road rehabilitation and upgradation of Chirundu Border post. Thank you so much.